I've had guys say like, "Oh yeah, I interrupted you, but I interrupt everyone." Then maybe you should not be a shitty person.
I got real bitch problems. I got real bitch problems. I got real bitch problems. Real bitch problems.
I'm approaching. Hello again. Hope you're enjoying your online experience. If you're a lady, a young lady, a young, kind lady, I'm sure at some point a man has tried to explain something that they are not qualified to explain to you. Sometimes they tell you you don't know what you're talking about. I had someone say, "I don't think you know what you're talking about," before I even started talking about it. Or maybe you've been talked over. Or you make a joke, even better, and no one listens to it. But then someone makes that same joke just 2 seconds after that joke. And the crowd goes wild. And people think that's a great idea. Jim is such a fun guy. He's the funniest. We're going to use that joke. Or we are going to promote Jim because there's no one who thinks quite like him. He's got a sharp, sharp mind. Or maybe, like me, you have been on a date where you admit to not liking something or not knowing something or not being interested in something. For me, for example, I said I wasn't interested in fashion very much. And your date said, "That's okay. That's totally fine. That's okay." And then you think, "I know that's okay. I'm not apologizing for it. I just don't like fashion." All life experiences and personal experiences that I've had that I try not to ascribe to my gender or ethnicity, but the people who do it are not women. So, one of my crusades on the journey of becoming who I want to be and also sort of promoting behaviors that I want to see and continue to be treated as would be calling things out, standing my ground, repeating myself, giving credit where credit is due, not letting so many small things slide. It's easy to let things slide, but I say don't let things slide. Identify and address and confront and call them out when they happen and then move on. There's a huge load that comes off. It doesn't build up. You're not getting mad. If anything, you're getting rad. Case in point, I tell someone at work that they are very rude to interrupt all the time. They feel a little awkward about it, kind of laugh it off, but it doesn't really happen again. I tell someone, jokingly, sure, 50% jokingly, that being the one to take notes all the time and sort of being in this, passenger side of presentations when it could definitely be more of a collaborative activity makes me feel a little bit like a 50s secretary. So then that doesn't happen again. Sure, they feel guilty, they feel bad. They mention it all the time and make light of it whenever we have a presentation, sort of, making sure that I'm not the one taking notes because I'm sensitive. But does it happen again? No, it does not happen again. They know where my limits are. They know that it does irk me a little. And then it never happens. Worst case scenario, they think I'm touchy and they never ask me to take notes again. And what I've been talking about a lot lately in terms of Asian girl problems is the Harvey Weinstein scandal, all of the people who are being outed in Hollywood as predators or creepy people in general. On a local level, I see it in all kinds of ways. I had one male friend who I totally trust be accused by his ex that he was all these things. Nick got back to his work. He swears that none of it's true and she's bipolar, and it had been months after they broke up when she started just kind of going on this tirade online. I've also seen it in local like comedy where I've recently just joined another group that is a special group for female comedians to warn each other about the male like the industry and comedians and event venue owners, managers who have a history of either domestic abuse or sexual harassment to their employees, to other female comedians, etc. People who have dated guys who they realized were really unsafe to be around. This is a place where people can kind of give you that warning and give you a heads up, like if you don't want to be at that show, totally understandable. If you're going to drop out or if you want to come and stand by me, that's totally fine. The Louis C.K. thing, huge disappointment. He was one of my top favorite comedians, as with a lot of people. Sort of not surprised. It's after a while you just aren't surprised. It's like, unfortunately, it's like gun violence and things like that. You just carry on. But back to, I think, what we can do as individuals and what I try to do, which is where I spend more of my emotional energy on. It's kind of been studied that women use conversation to strengthen relationships, whereas men use conversation to teach or sort of get to a goal or express themselves. That's really different than having that two-way kind of like relationship building purpose. And in a nutshell, I think that explains everything about how men communicate versus how women communicate. But I think this is why a lot of times it's so hard to see women in comedy. I don't know why I'm talking about comedy a lot. I'll get back to it. Because a lot of times the goal of our kind of communication has never really been to make someone laugh or think differently. It's always been to build relationship. And honestly, relationships aren't that funny. Like if you're trying to build a strong, stable relationship and support each other, it's not a lot of laughs that's coming out of that. A lot more, soul food, like chicken noodle soup for the soul, but not so much, but barrel of laughs. And so I think that just needs to change. Obviously, there are women who are more lean towards one side and then the other, and there are more men who like lean towards one side. And I think the middle ground is my sweet spot. Like I really love men who like to build relationships via communication, but I also love women who give each other so much shit and like are super abrasive and honest to an exaggerated level. And I would say that a lot of the friends I have outside of my job are people who sort of fall into that lovely gray area that I love, the gray. I would say I lean more towards feminine, if I have to label it that way, because I do love nurturing, and I've always had to do that with my mom, so I can't turn off that like sensitivity radar, but I really like the middle ground. So I would say that the thing is, women listen so well and men talk so much that a lot of times the dumb men, unfortunately, the ignorant ones who haven't really been very, I guess they haven't been exposed to women who are a little less quiet, they think that women love to listen. They think that women love to learn. And sometimes they can take that next step and jump to the conclusion that women are not as smart. Because, if you say something to a woman like, oh, it's cold outside today, she'll be like, yeah, it is. Or, I didn't know that. That's great. I'm going to put on a sweater or something. You tell that to a man, most of the time they're not going to say anything back. Or at least a lot of the people that I've talked to. They're like, they're not going to say anything in response. And if you ask them, did you hear me? They're like, yeah, I didn't think that needed a response. It's not about blaming, and it's not a purely gendered problem. It's just that one side has been listening and receiving for a long time. The other one has been, also rewarded and feel needed and feel good about themselves and validated when they explain and learn and teach someone. And this is sort of this like perpetuating thing that keeps building. And so I think one of the easiest ways to kind of dial it down a bit and just let it come back to a simmer, let it equalize a little bit more, because that's really the goal here. It's not going to be quick and it's not easy, but to equalize things is that women need to teach more, talk more, continue talking, even when you don't feel like they're listening, when you feel like they're ignoring you. And I know it can feel kind of like a blow to your ego when you say something but no one hears you. But for example, at work, literally, if I say a joke and then no one hears it, I'm just gonna say it again. And I know it like can be hard when I'm in a like meeting with like 5 other kind of broy guys, but you just gotta keep repeating until you're heard, because otherwise someone's gonna think of that joke and they're going to use it. And if that happens again, that's another opportunity to say, I just made that joke 2 seconds ago, and make them look like a dummy. But you're not trying to make them look like a dummy. You're just stating the facts. You're not trying to get revenge. You're not mad. You're not on your period. You just wanted to tell them the facts. So I would say, like, obviously, be who you are. A lot of women are beautifully supportive and amazing, positive. I wouldn't change that for the world. But if you want to, if you feel so inclined to speak up a little bit more, it really does help strengthen a lot of relationships. And it'll be really interesting to see how other people around you start changing because they've seen you change. It's so cool. Like, this is why I cannot talk in a high voice. I cannot end my sentences on that like question mark inflection. I can't let someone else invade my space in public. I can't let someone tell me what I feel or tell me that what I feel is not reality, because these are the little things that you have to keep doing every day, keep monitoring and like almost patrolling all the time. Fuck them if they think you're sensitive or if they think you're overly PC. This is not a political thing. It's just being better humans. I've had guys say like, "Oh yeah, I interrupted you, but I interrupt everyone." Then maybe you should not be a shitty person. And I've said that to them, and not in those words. And I honestly think that it's made our relationship stronger. So I guess this is just a public service announcement today. Asian girl learnings, Asian girl growth, Asian girl respect. Respect to everyone. Thank you, all the women who do speak up and, break stereotypes. And for the guys who are also really open and don't feel threatened and can see how important this is and how important it is for them to either step back or to speak up for women. Thank you too. It's not easy. It's not going to happen fast. I am still working on things to change and seeing little things every day that I think I could do better. But it'll be better. It will be better. I might die alone with a lot of hypoallergenic cats, never have babies, but it will get better. It's worth it. We can do it. Bye.